Hello friends of photography. Thank you for taking your time to watch the video. In the last video, I introduced you to the Tamron SP 2.8 35 to 105 mm, a manual focus lens from the days of analog photography. One shortcoming of this lens is certainly the shortest focusing distance of 1 meter. Especially those of you who, like me, like to focus on a small detail during a photo tour, be it a flower on the side of the road, or an old newspaper lying around in a lost place, would certainly appreciate a shorter focusing distance. In today's video, I would like to introduce you to an inexpensive solution: extension rings. With some sample photos, I will show you the performance of the lens with different extension rings and setting distances, but always using the focal length of 105 mm. Extension rings lengthen the distance between the lens and the film or sensor plane, thus increasing the magnification factor. They do not contain optical glass, so they cannot negatively affect the optical properties of the base lens. However, extension rings obviously cannot improve the optical quality. In general, the quality of the base lens suffers somewhat, because it was not designed for a close-up range outside its specification, the respective shortest setting distance. In order to use the extension rings in the combination shown here, the Tamron SP 2.8 35 to 105 mm, here in the Contax Yashica bayonet, must first receive an adapter for connection to the Sony E-mount. This adapter allows you to set the distance to infinity, and you can close or open the aperture. Then one or both extension rings are connected to the adapter, and finally this combination is attached to the Sony A7 III, just as you are used to with other lenses. If you use the adapters shown here with autofocus lenses, the autofocus function of your camera and other automatic functions are supported. The extension rings used here can be obtained cheaply. However, their build quality is rather below average, but they are sufficient for occasional use. With the two extension rings mounted, as well as the Contax Yashica bayonet to Sony E-mount adapter, the lens is no longer as aesthetically pleasing, but it's the pictures you take with it that matter. Please note, you see here unprocessed RAW files. As a first example, I have taken a large format lens here. You can see here an aperture range from 2.8 to 22, in whole steps. The 16 mm extension ring was used. The focusing distance was 1.5 meters, at focal length 105. The focus was set to shutter speed B, bulb. Focusing is extremely difficult at f2.8, because of the numerous aberrations. Aperture 2.8 should not be used for photography. A significant increase in imaging performance already occurs at aperture 4. I would recommend apertures 8 and 11 as standard. If a very shallow depth of field is really needed, aperture 5.6 is also possible. Here I have zoomed in for you the pictures, taken at aperture 2.8, 8, and 11. At a setting of 1 meter, I'll only show you the results at f11 and f16. Other aperture values don't give results worth showing. And now, as an example, Pictures taken with the combination of the two extension rings of 10mm and 16mm. I have omitted the aperture values 2.8 and 4. The results are simply unusable. The settings were as follows. For the images now shown: 26mm extension ring. Distance 1 meter. Focusing was done on the subject part, f-stop 64, of the large format lens. With this combination, I would recommend f11. In order to increase the image quality, you can of course not fully use the close-up setting, at the expense of the maximum magnification. I've had good results when using a setting of 10 meters with my Tamron lens. In this example, I focused on the top red area of the auto snip. The other settings were 26mm extension ring, 10 meters, 105mm focal length, and aperture values between 2.8 and 8. My conclusion: the setting distance of 1 meter with the Tamron 2.835 to 105mm is not suitable for small subjects, but they are worth photographing. With the selection of the correct aperture, as a rule of thumb aperture 8, image important motifs, that are not too far outside the center of the image, can be sufficiently sharp, especially since post-processing can further improve the image quality. When using 26mm intermediate ring length, another option is not to use the shortest setting distance of the lens. I myself will now have the extension rings with me whenever I go on a photo tour with this lens. Better a photo with extension rings than no photo. I always have a tripod with me on every photo tour, so that accurate focusing is possible. Of course, edited images may not be missing in this video. Thanks for watching the video, and maybe I have awakened in you the desire for extension rings.